Hello and welcome to another episode of Raw Chatter. Well, here we are, folks. It's December and it's freezing cold. The wind is blowing. It's a really dull, grey day. And I have to say, this is where I am so grateful that I have got a roof over my head. I've got central heating. I can put warm clothes on and get all snuggly. I will be going out later to teach my Monday night Pilates class, which I do love no matter what the weather. And for those of you who are new to me, I want to say welcome. This podcast is all about being raw, being real. It's about addiction, reinvention. It's about understanding who we are as humans and helping us to recognize that a lot of the stuff that we think and feel is not just us. We're not on our own. Because a lot of the time we do think that we are the only person who thinks like we think and feels how we feel, and that somehow, some way, shape or form, that there must be something wrong with us. And I want to help you to recognize that you are a human, and as such, we're all equal and different. Because we're equal in the fact that we pretty much have the same kind of evolutionary background, but that's kind of then where it all goes different, pear-shaped, if you like, I was going to say, because we come from different cultures, different backgrounds, different religions, different parts of the world. And we're not all the same. Our DNA is not exactly the same. Yes, do we have the same bits? Well, hopefully. We've all got a brain and a heart and lungs and a gut that functions and a nervous system and all of that. But otherwise, so much is very different, which is why we do struggle sometimes to wonder if we are normal, if we are sane, and if we are okay. And especially this time of year, it's so difficult, I think, to feel if you have got in any way, shape or form an issue with your body image, your size, your shape, your height, your hair color, your features, or you have problems around food or alcohol or drugs, whether it's smoking, whether it's something that you sniff or take in pill form. This time of year can really spotlight when and why you feel you need to turn to these things. And a lot of the time, it's because we do stuff that we don't really want to do because we feel that we must, we ought to, we have to, we should, it's good manners, blah, blah, blah. So today's episode really is about honesty, self-honesty. And I'm not going to say that you should never, ever, ever lie. Now, if my daughter was here listening to this, she would completely be horrified by that because she believes that you should always tell the truth no matter what. But I do think that when it comes to ourselves, we definitely should not. Because if we are not honest with ourselves, we're going to struggle to trust ourselves. And really, that's what this is about. Last week, if you did tune in to the episode, I was sharing about why it's important that if we get triggered, we shouldn't just try and avoid triggers. That actually triggers are signals, and they're just energy, and they're trying to tell us something. And often it's something that we've been avoiding for decades. But the sooner we can face it head on, and I don't mean battle with it, but I mean get curious with it and turn into it and ask the right questions about, okay, what is this actually showing me or trying to help me to look at? And usually it's something from our past. Now, often we have been taught to keep the peace, particularly as girls. And I'm not going to say that it doesn't happen with boys either, but it does tend to be this idea of being a good girl, being a nice girl. In other words, you don't rock the boat, you are compliant. Now, what that can mean is, especially if you've got parents who are quite controlling or have very high standards or fall in the realm of narcissistic personalities, you will learn to not say what you really think and to not say what you really feel. And that is often reinforced if you have ever seen anybody, and it could be a sibling, but it doesn't have to be, it could be an adult, who has said to somebody who is an authority figure in your life what they really think and what they really feel. And the outcome has been really negative. Maybe there's been a lot of shouting, maybe there has been physical violence going on, maybe the person has been completely cut off. In other words, you learned very quickly, very early on, that being honest about how you really genuinely think and feel isn't safe. And this is why I'm not advocating that we should always be honest with others. I think where possible we should, but I also think it's absolutely vital that we are honest with ourselves. And this is where something like journaling can come in, or talking to a therapist who you know, or a counsellor, or a really good friend who you absolutely know that you can trust 100%, who is not going to, in any way, shape or form, make you feel bad or guilty or ashamed for sharing what you really think and what you really feel. And why is it so important? Well, a lot of the time, if we don't get honest about what we really think and what we really feel, we lose our identity. And this is the biggest issue that I help people with. It's to either rediscover who they truly are, because often women come to me, and men, who are in their 50s and 60s, who have spent decades basically wearing multiple masks. Now, we all do. Every single one of us wears a different mask. We are different with different people, right? And everybody does this. You're not unique in this. I know people with neurodiverse brains tend to perhaps seem to do it more so, but to some degree, we all do it. We all want to present a certain image and feel a part of, and that we belong. And that's going to be different to different people. So how I am, for example, in my networking is not necessarily exactly the same as how I am at home when I'm being silly with my daughter, because it just isn't. And I think we can all recognize that there are times where we can be more playful and just be more relaxed and more, shall I say, childlike. And there are other times where it's important that the image, the persona, the mask, if you like, that we wear is more businesslike. And that's normal. And you will be different as well with different groups of people. You're not going to speak to 5 and 10-year-olds and be exactly the same as you are with somebody who's in their 50s and 60s. You're just not. Okay, so we all do this. But in the process, we tell ourselves an awful lot of stories, and we can often lose our own identity, especially if you are somebody who has got parents who rely on them, if you're looking after children, if you're also running a business, if you've got a business that's got employees and you're looking after them as well, and you're caring about what is happening in their private lives. And also then, if you're a homeowner, if you're looking at what is going on in terms of the economy and the budget that we've just had. And so you may be asking yourself, what do I actually want? What do I actually need? And you may be dismissing it. But this is where we have to recognize that when we're honest with ourselves, to ourselves, we're going to find that we feel much more confident in who we are actually being. There's an amazing therapy out there, which some of you may or may not have heard of. Gabby Bernstein talks about it a lot, which is IFS, Internal Family Systems. And it talks about us all having various different parts of ourselves. And mainly we talk about some parts being protectors and some parts being exiles. And I'm not going to go into the details of it, except to say you can name those parts whatever you want. But a lot of the time we find that we're not honest with ourselves because we've got within our own heads other parts of us that are going to criticize, that are going to ask the question, yes, but what will other people think? Or will come out with a comment of, oh, that's really childish. And so sometimes we struggle to even be honest and true to ourselves. And this is a challenge, especially if you are overcoming or trying to get to grips with compulsive behavior, whether it feels like it's an addiction, or whether you feel that actually, no, you're just compelled to do it when you're under stress and not so much when you're not. And there's a number of people like that, especially with alcohol and this time of year, and especially with food at this time of year. And it's getting honest with yourself about what you are actually feeling and, crucially, what you are actually needing. Soon as that judgmental voice comes in and that critical voice come in, oftentimes we then shy away from being truly honest with ourselves, because we have learned, usually through society and programming, that if you want a cuddle, it's childish. If you ask for help, it's a sign of weakness. Now, that is a powerful one that has permeated society since the Dickensian school kind of days. And anybody who is successful in business or in a sport, and I'm going to use those two things because I think we can all relate to either one or the other, whether that is you personally or whether you follow somebody in business or somebody in sport. You understand that they know that the only reason that they are successful is that they have asked for help. Every single sports person has a village of supporters, of people in their camp, and they will ask for help when they need it, whether it's help with a training plan, whether it's help with sleep, whether it's help with physio, whether it's help with getting the mindset right. Whatever that help is, they ask for it. Why? Because they know you can't know everything. You certainly can't know what you don't know, and you cannot do it all alone. And it's the same in business, but also it's the same in life, right? We can't know everything, and we're not supposed to do everything on our own. And if we're honest about asking for what we need, we can actually find that we need to turn to food or to alcohol or to smoking or to medications or to drugs a lot less. Why? Because we feel more confident and calmer in ourselves, and therefore we're not needing to soothe for safety and security, because that is the main reason that we turn to food or habits that we have had for decades, whether it's alcohol, whether it's smoking, whether it is scrolling on your phone now, to numb out, to distract, to do something, even if we know it's harmful, it feels familiar and therefore it feels comforting. Now, not eating is a real good example of that when it comes to people in recovery with anorexia or a combination of bulimia and anorexia. And that sensation that they get of controlled deprivation, of being so hungry but they can handle it, that familiar feeling of, at least I'm in control of something, at least I know what this is like and I know what I'm going to get and I know how to handle it. Even though it's harmful, even though it can set them back, it's very tempting to go there, and particularly at this time of year. And this is why at Christmas time and the build up, the whole holiday season can be a bit of a nightmare, or it can be an opportunity for you to get really honest with yourself and honor what you need and what you want by only going to events that you know you're going to enjoy, that are going to have people there who you can turn to for a decent conversation, who you can feel safe around, who you don't feel awkward talking to or sitting with or eating in front of. It's getting honest with yourself and deciding, are you going to eat before you go out to avoid having a binge at the end of the day? Are you going to set a limit on the amount of alcoholic drinks that you decide to have, and are you going to stick to it? Or actually, is it easier for you within certain groups of people to just say, right, tonight I'm going to be the designated driver and I'm not going to touch it. Therefore, I don't have to make any awkward decisions around it. This is about getting honest about what is better for you, not for other people. And that is the key. Oftentimes we lose the ability and we lose who we are in terms of who am I as a human. Our sense of identity disappears. Why? Because we have, for decades, tried to always please others, to be the person we think they want us to be. Now think about that sentence for a moment. To be the person that we think they want us to be. Well, first of all, when did we get so arrogant to think that we know what other people want us to be? Because we don't, do we? We're not mind readers. We're not in their heads, which means that we're making it up. We have made up a story about what we think the other person expects us to be. And we have no clue, if we're really honest, about whether that's true or not. Now, you may be going, but yes, we do, because people give us clues. They tell us, or they have told us what to expect or what they expect over the years. And you're right, okay, on that, you're absolutely right. But we also got to remember that people change and they don't let us know. They don't let us know when they're changing their mind. So we might have recognized that somebody expected us to be a certain way 10 years ago, and we still think that that is how they expect us to be. But maybe they don't. But we never stop to ask that question. And we're certainly not going to ask them why, because the story we tell ourselves is, well, how do I know they're telling the truth? How do I know they're not just saying that? Why? Because that's what we do. That's what we do. We would just say the right thing to help the person to feel, we hope, we think, a certain way. And otherwise, we want the person to like us. We want the person to be pleased with our response. And what we don't do is get honest with ourselves and say, is this actually what I want? Is this going to work for me? Is this going to help me to feel more comfortable in my own skin? Is it going to help me tomorrow to feel able to get out of bed and be pleased that I did what I said I was going to do? Or am I going to wake up and feel a bit resentful, a bit fed up that I went to yet another event and felt almost invisible, or like I didn't belong, or just genuinely uncomfortable? Now, I'm posing these just as questions. There is no right answer here. But the point is, I'm wanting you to start to get honest. When somebody invites you to a Christmas party, what is your immediate reaction? Is it genuine excitement and you can't wait and you're looking forward to spending time with them and your face lights up? Or inside, does your kind of heart just kind of drop right down into your stomach like a stone? And you kind of go, shoot, I went last year and it was awful and I don't want to have to go through it. Think about what is the narrative going on in your own head, because you do know what you want and you can be honest with yourself. And if you can let go of the judgment of saying that's not a very nice thing to think, or that's cruel, or that's mean, or you shouldn't say that because it's rude, if you can let go of all of that, let go of the judgment, let go of the criticism, just say to that part, hey, you're not helpful right now. I'm learning to get honest and to discover who is, use your name, who is Vicky Midwood really? What lights her up? What does she really want to be doing? Who does she really want to be spending time with at this time of year? Because the more you can be honest with yourself, the less stressful it's going to feel around food, around drink. You'll feel less anxious. You'll feel less pressured to be a certain way, a way that saps your energy. And for those of you who are neurodivergent, you know how exhausting it can be if you're going out to event after event and you've got your own work to do and you've got a family to look after. you are masking all of the time and trying to be aware of what other people want you to be and not saying the wrong thing to upset somebody, that is just exhausting. And so my message really to you guys is allow yourself to start to really get to know yourself without the judgment, get to know what you really do like and what you really genuinely do not like, what you can tolerate and what actually you find incredibly awful to tolerate and you're not going to do it anymore. Because when you get clear on that, it's not going to help you just through this season of parties and Christmas and holidays. It's going to help you moving into the new year. 2026 is going to be a year that's going to be different for a lot of us, right? AI is here to stay, that's for sure. And we don't actually genuinely know how that's going to affect us all on our day-to-day. And we certainly don't know where it's going to go in the future. And so this is an opportunity now, this month, for you to really get to know who you are. What is going on for you? What are your fears? What are your anxieties? Don't judge them. Don't criticize them, but just get honest. And I would love you to let me know how you find it. Just ask yourself, what do I really think? What do I really feel if I know there's not going to be a voice in my head criticizing or judging? And I think you'll actually find it's quite an enjoyable little exercise to do. And don't just do it for one event or one thing that crops up. Do it multiple times, because the more you get to know you, the more you will trust yourself. The easier it will be to make decisions, and crucially, the easier it will be to put in place and then maintain boundaries. And that is what helps us to feel safe and secure. And as humans, honestly, we all want it. We all want to be heard. We all want to be loved. We all want to feel connected. We all want to feel safe and secure. And on that note, I'm going to just remind you that I do have an offer going on all of December. It's not a Black Friday or a Cyber Monday offer. It is a whole of the month of December offer of £500 off both my VIP day and my 30-day accelerator, which includes the VIP day. And that day is to help you, that initial day is to help you get much, much clearer on who you are, but also the things that are holding you back in terms of your behaviors, your habits, your thoughts, patterns. And I also, crucially, help you to learn to trust yourself in a very physical and practical way that's easy to master. And that once you know how to use it, you're going to feel so much more confident, so much more energetic, and so much more alive. Not just as soon as you've learned how to use it, but for keeps. Because once you know this stuff, you can't unknow it, and you can use it at any time. So I'm going to leave you with this, as I always do. We only have one life as far as we know, and one body. So please take care of it, because it is taking care of you. And if you are new to the channel, I want to say thank you for listening. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do. If you did like this episode, give me a thumbs up. If you do think it's helpful to somebody that you know, then please do pass it on to them, because the more people I can help to feel happier and more comfortable being themselves, so that they don't need to turn to food or alcohol or other things, so that they don't have to live a life filled with self-hate and anxiety, the better. Thank you once again, and have a great day. Bye-bye for now.